What's going on, guys? This is Sam, and Apple could be working on a red iPhone 8, a red iPhone 8 Plus, or even a red iPhone 10. We're hearing this just days ahead of their March event. We have some other things to talk about as well. Let's go ahead and jump in. Apple could very well be working on a red iPhone to release in just a couple of weeks. We actually first heard this from Rosenblatt a few weeks back when they said the iPad Pro would be launching sometime this summer, right around WWDC. At the very end, they included a detail that said Apple could be working on a red version, a product red version specifically, of the iPhone 8, the iPhone 8 Plus, and maybe even the iPhone 10. They didn't know for sure, but they indicated that Apple could be working on something that we hadn't heard about before. But it was a small snippet of information, and I totally just glazed over it when I initially read the Mac Rumors article. I didn't think that Apple was actually bringing it back until today, because today OnLeaks said that a red iPhone for 2018 could be a possibility. Let me read the tweet to you right now. Take this with a pinch of salt because I got it from a new and therefore still unverified source, but I heard that a new red colored iPhone or iPhones might be on the way, which is really exciting for anybody that has missed that red iPhone 7 from last year. We saw a red iPhone 7 in March of 2017. There's definitely precedent for the same thing to happen again this year. When I read this, I was really excited, even though it is from an unverified source. Usually OnLeaks doesn't share things unless he has some inkling that it's going to happen. He's not someone who will put out every single thing that he hears. He usually waits until he has an inkling that it's actually going to become a reality. And combining this with that report from Rosenblatt a few weeks ago, I'd say there's a decent chance now that we could be seeing a new red iPhone 8 or a red iPhone 8 Plus, maybe even a red iPhone 10 at Apple's March event on the 27th. I actually mocked up all these images of the iPhone 8 or the iPhone 10 in red myself. If you want to see the full images or view them in high resolution, I will leave a link to that down below in the description. There's a surprising amount of outrage last year when Apple made the red iPhone 7 have a white front. A lot of people wanted to see black on the front, red on the back. I think that looks really great. Maybe Apple will do that this year with the iPhone 8 or even with the iPhone 10. I feel like a red-backed iPhone 10 and a black front iPhone 10 would just look absolutely incredible with that bezel-less display. But at this point, we are still unsure. While it could definitely happen, two sources now have said Apple may be working on something like this. We won't know for sure until Apple gets on stage that day. Now, speaking of Apple getting on the stage, this year the event is not going to be live streamed, and I was really disappointed to hear that, because everyone that wasn't invited now has to rely on the few that were invited to get their information, which will be great for impressions for those publishers, for views, and obviously for monetizing what Apple's talking about. At the same time, there's no direct way for the consumer to now watch or be a part of the event without going to a third-party source. Apple says that after the event concludes, you'll be able to watch it back, which then makes me question, if they're recording it and we can watch it back, why they're not just broadcasting it in the first place? But we don't really know why. Apple just said this year they are not live streaming it, and all the coverage will have to be through members of the press that were invited. Of course, I'll be following along with the event, so if you want to stay up to date with everything that at least I'm hearing, follow me on Twitter at iupdateos, and of course subscribe here on YouTube. There's one more report that I want to touch on before wrapping up this video. It's from Bloomberg. It came out earlier today, and it talks about what we can expect to see at Apple's March event in just a couple of days. The number one thing that they said we will be seeing are new, cheaper iPads. We have heard this in the past. We saw leaked documents. We knew that these were coming. We just didn't know for sure. But now that Bloomberg is confirming that, it is pretty much unquestionable that we will be seeing some cheaper iPads on Tuesday. Now, there's been some talk, and we don't know this bit for sure, but Apple Pencil support could be coming to these cheaper iPads. If you look at Apple's invitation, it looks like it was hand-drawn with an Apple Pencil. And Apple lowering that barrier of entry to only having to buy a $329 or possibly even cheaper iPad, and then maybe a cheaper Apple Pencil or still a $99 Apple Pencil, would allow anybody to start drawing for around $430, $450, maybe a little bit lower than that, rather than having to buy a $500, $600, or $700 iPad Pro and a $100 Apple Pencil on top of that. And I know as a student myself, I would definitely appreciate that cheaper option rather than having to spend a ton of money on a very expensive iPad Pro. The same report from Bloomberg also says that while we will be seeing some cheaper iPads at this event, Apple has decided to wait and hold off on announcing a cheaper MacBook. We heard that a sub $1,000 MacBook or MacBook Air type device was coming in 2018. It looks like that's still going to be the case. Bloomberg just says that they don't think that device will be launching at this event in particular. A lot of interesting things happening a few days before. Will we be seeing a red iPhone 8, 8 Plus, or 10? We don't know. The event will not be live streamed, and two new iPads are almost certainly coming. I'm excited still. It's going to be weird to not watch an Apple event live. I can't remember the last time that I didn't watch an Apple event when it was happening, but I will try my best to keep all of you up to date, of course. So that's going to wrap up this video. If you enjoyed watching, it does help me out if you take just 1 second to drop a like, and of course, hit subscribe for more videos like this in the future. If you want to help support the channel, I've got new merch dropping soon. This is the second shirt that I wanted to show all of you. Also really excited to show you the rest. Head over to shop.iupdateos.com. All of these will be available soon. For now, I've been Sam. I hope all of you are doing great, and I will talk to you in my next video.